Good to see everybody. Thank you. Thank you for coming out today. First of all, of course, I want to say I appreciate you guys coming out, and certainly a lot of things going on this weekend. Not just the start of spring ball. Certainly want to give a shout out to all the sports that had so many important events this past week. Coach Graves, women's basketball, again knocking out the Pac-12 title. Awesome, awesome to watch. And Coach Altman in men's basketball as well. Two really big games in a row. Saw baseball. Coach Horton had a sweep. Caught a bit of the acro and tumbling as well because my kids were trying to make me do that at home. And the battle that they had against Baylor, I thought that was really great to watch as well. So really busy weekend. At the same time, we had a clinic up at Portland, the Nike Coaches Clinic, the Coach of the Year clinic. So I had a chance to spend a lot of time with some of the in-state coaches as well as some of the coaches that came from out of state. And on top of that, the NFL Combine going on with our guys participating over there. And then the hiring, of course, of Coach Avalos. And since we haven't gone together in a long time, important to note some of the other hirings that we have had. So certainly a very busy, exciting, a lot of energy, a lot of juice surrounding the program and some of the changes and a lot of the other positive stuff that's going on. So certainly we're looking forward to getting on that field on Saturday. We pushed it back a couple days to try to make sure that our defense was installed enough to be able to go ahead and run what we need to and have a productive couple of sessions before we head out to spring break. So we will start on Saturday, and we will have a practice on Saturday, then the following Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. I got that wrong, excuse me. We will have our 5 practices before headed out to spring break and continue along the path. But well, that being said, of course, Coach Bo Knight as well. We know him as Coach Bo. Join us as our wide receivers coach. Extremely excited about him as well. I'll get into all the coaches as you guys ask questions. Another significant move, Bobby Williams will be coaching tight ends as well as the special teams duties, which he currently has. Important because Bobby was such a important piece at the former place we were at as a tight ends coach as well as a special teams coach. And we feel that being an area of expertise for him could help us become a better program. And, really excited to get these families into town as well. I mean, these families certainly during this time of year when a coach makes a move, they always bring them back to like they're the last leg in the 4x1. Everything gets moved and they come up at the end. We're looking forward to getting them here. But between him, Coach Wilson, who we hired from Washington State a little while back, Kenny Sanders, coming from Penn State and also from the NFL to serve as our director of recruiting. A couple guys joining in our strength staff, Jeff Eaton, who joins us from Purdue, and Coach Reed Kagi, who joins us from Iowa State, and then a couple of other graduate assistants and quality control personnel guys that we cannot mention until they're completely hired, but we'll certainly update you on that when that does come around. But also want to mention, let's open up the questions and then we'll roll into some of the other stuff that certainly want to get into. So with that being said.
You just talked about pushing back just so guys are able to work on the install of that defense. Just how much different is this going to be looking this season with the new coordinator?
Well, the thing that really got us fired up about Coach Avalos and his scheme was that they're so multiple. They can go from the odd front to the 4 down to the bare front. There's some stem involved, a lot of movement, a lot of pressure, very aggressive. The back end is very tied into what you do up front in terms of disguise as well as its coverages. So it takes, it'll take a little bit of time, but not too much more. There'll be some overlap concepts. And I think anytime you make a change schematically, there's always some overlap and there is some overlap terminology. But I would say a lot of the stuff that we're going to be doing is going to be new to these guys. We do have a very intelligent group of guys that are all about, academics and football. So we think that the couple of extra days provided is going to be more than enough to get them ready for a real good practice on Saturday and a great start to spring ball in general.
Coach, what was your thinking behind making a change at defensive coordinator?
Well, I think anytime that there is a change, and I'm sure in college football we see it all the time, any and all things that transpire in a program are for the betterment of the program and its players. And that's certainly the case here in anything that we do, past, present, and future. So we have a great opportunity, to continue to evolve as a program in this particular case as a defense. So our guys, our coaches, we're really excited about the situation.
Front left, Matt.
I know in conference play, maybe last year, your defensive stats maybe took a little bit step back from 2017. How much can Andy address that? And looking at his defense, they seem to be pretty good in a lot of areas in conference play.
No doubt. I think when you look at the way that they attack the quarterback, affecting the quarterback in this league is very important because typically the better teams in this league have an outstanding quarterback, an all-star player, a game changer, and a difference maker. So getting after the quarterbacks at a premium, Andy certainly brings that to the table. Also, extended drives, third down production for us is something that we want to improve on as well. And due to the fact they were really good on third down, getting the defense off the field, which in essence is a turnover. That's an area on both sides of the ball that we want to improve upon. But as we address the defense, that's something that we're looking for as well. And then forcing turnovers, getting the ball back. It's really about the ball. I think he's been part of a great culture for a long time. All the respect in the world for the program that he's from, how they do things, the expectations that they set for their players, the regiment, the structure. There's certainly a lot of similarities to some of the things that they have done and some of the things that we do. So I think when you combine those things and at the same time how disruptive they can be on first and second down, causing better third down situations, all lead to just an opportunity to be really effective, not only in the green zone, the red zone, but just overall defensively.
On the right, Ryan.
Mario, why didn't it work out with Jim long term? And also, did you strongly consider Keith to elevate Keith for this position?
I think Keith is, I need to start by saying he's an unbelievable coach and person, and certainly a decision like this, these things are always hard, but the decision comes down to how can we get the best five guys together. You almost look at it like, all right, when you're putting together your offensive line, okay, how are you going to get your five best players together? Gosh, all these guys are really, really good, but how does it fit? Well, Keith, and it's obvious just to talk about because you look at a guy like Ugo Amadi, right? Lombardi Award winner. Certainly a big influence on him has been Keith. He's extremely impactful. He is extremely valued, and he's a big part of this equation as well. He assumes also assistant head coaching duties, which, already as a co-coordinator here, he had some pretty significant duties. And in terms of changing college football, it is what it is. Changes are made. People move on, and I think it's as simple as that. I think there's nothing more to it, and nothing ever will be more to it than the betterment of the program, because every single decision is always going to be about the betterment of the program and its people.
From middle, James.
Mario, to follow on the Keith bit, can you break down exactly what assistant head coach means when he's not the DC and not the play caller, for one? Two, with the scheme fit of Andy, and you said multiple, it's 3-4 in base, but for somebody who emphasize the line of scrimmage as much as you do, they ran a lot of 1 and 2 down linemen. That clearly can work in that league. Even in a passing league like this, when you're aspiring to eventually take on far more physical powers nationally, why do you think a 1 and 2 down at times scheme will help you do that, and playing with 4 and 5 and 6 linebackers
Sure.
and DBs?
Well, you want to match personnel. They come and trotting in with 7 offensive linemen. We're probably going to have 7 defensive linemen in there. So his ability to dissect and match personnel is what was really impressive to us. A great example is when we played Boise. It was as diverse as being in an odd front pre-snap, a quick stem, and all of a sudden they are in 4 down. And the use of the stud backer in their particular scheme is it's a little bit more of a hybrid than what we have used. These guys are true defensive end body types that could put their hand to the ground as well. And when you look at guys like Lamar Winston, you look at guys like DJ Johnson, guys like Adrian Jackson, Kayvon Thibodeau, these guys are athletic guys that can bring a lot of heat off the edge, but are also strong enough to blunt a tackle or a tight end and be able to hold their ground and constrict the C gap or the B gap respectively. So the scheme is pretty diverse, and I wouldn't in any way, shape, or form just label it one or the other. It's because of our personnel. We do have one really big nose tackle and a couple of other guys that have played nose tackle, but we also have a lot of 3 and 2I body types on our roster. And for us to continue to get better, we have to maximize the use of our personnel, right? Because part of it is talent acquisition, then it's player development, and then personnel use. We think that has to be a huge part of it. Not to mention the fact that Coach Wilson and his experience at Washington State, really has some unique wrinkles that can help a guy like Troy Dye continue to be one of the more prominent players in the conference. And when you lose, gotta think of it. This past year, we had arguably two of the most disruptive players in the conference. Right? When you look at Jalen Jelks and you look at Justin Hollins. Okay, and when you look at Ugo Amadi, you look at one of the best players in college football. Right? That's per the Lombardi Award. So to be able to make up for that, and at the same time to be able to advance as a defense, the critical statistics mentioned earlier, we've got to be able to present the offense with ID issues, movement issues, and structural issues. In other words, complexity for the opponent, simplicity for us on the defensive side of the ball. So I know it's a long answer, but I guess the best way to put it is, if you look at our personnel right now and the guys that have been used in the odd and in the 4 down front, you'll see some of those guys using some similar spots, but you'll also see the addition of, like you mentioned, a speed package where a Gus Cumberlander is playing inside, and he's coupled by a Lamar outside or an Adrian outside or a Kayvon outside. So we're going to mix and match personnel as we need to as per opponent.
Second row on the left, Eric.
I guess just overall health of the team. Anybody will be out for spring, and then question on just how the freshmen that are on campus have kind of integrated themselves so far.
Yeah, spring ball, Throck's going to be out, although he's healing up really well. Great story on him. The other day we had snow here, which I didn't know that was almost like a crisis in town, right, whenever it snows. But my man Throck, the car wasn't budging, so he decided to walk a mile over here on his injured leg. But he's way ahead of schedule. He's looking great, but he will not participate. Neither will Sam Patasi. He's coming off of surgery. Gary Baker will probably miss about half of spring ball due to an ankle injury. We should have him for the second half of spring ball. Austin Falio would be, by the end of week 1, will be a full-speed player for us as well. We're kind of bringing him along. He tweaked his knee, but nothing too serious. Cale Millen had a foot injury while he was training. Nothing significant, but we'll ease him into week 1. By week 2, he should be good to go. And then Justin Johnson, he had surgery during the course of the season on his shoulder. He will be no contact for most of spring. So he'll be involved in just about everything. We'll be wearing a red jersey. But he'll participate as much as he's allowed to medically. On top of that, I think, Adam Stack will bring him along. He still has had, some issues with the hernia and whatnot, but he is getting better. On a side note, in a good way, Cam McCormick comes back to us full speed and has been participating in the fourth quarter program and looks great. Overall, that tight end group looks really, really good. Same thing for Jake Breland, Ryan Bay, Hunter Campmoyer, Spencer Webb. So we'll be at full force at tight end, which will be nice. We missed camp during the course of the season. And then in terms of the freshmen that are in here, Kayvon Thibodeau's here, Jimon Eford, Kale, Drew Mathis, Big Salah, and Josh Delgado have been here, and they got a full-fledged dose of the fourth quarter program, which they thoroughly enjoyed. Not really, but they've endured, and they've done more than that. They've pressed themselves to attack it as opposed to just survive it. And I think the reason they've done so, they've had a lot of support and great leadership by the older guys, because that's a tough deal now. When you come into a program like this, these guys have done it before. You keep hearing the fourth quarter program, how tough it is. This kind of offseason program that pushes back. These guys attacked it, and they've excelled. And without a doubt, all these guys are in the mix for playing time. And it's going to show in the rep count that they have. In a couple of weeks, we'll be joined also by Micah Pittman, Cam Lewis, Patrick Herbert, and also Mikkel Wright. So they'll be able to participate in our final 10 days of spring ball, as well as just join into the off-season conditioning program there as well. So the quarter system is still a little bit different, right? It's very advantageous for returning players. It puts incoming freshmen a little bit of a disadvantage. They can't come till June. But if you could come in January or if you could come in April, it's a pretty nice situation for them. And all in all, we'll have 10 guys of our class of 26 guys that'll be able to participate with us. And the goal every single year is to have anywhere between 9, 12, 15 of those guys here on campus.